Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the J&J Sports Express. I'm your co-host Jeff Cadillac, and as usual, my co-host for the evening is JB Ellis. JB, how you doing today?
Good, good. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Another great week of NFL games.
Yeah, well, hey, look, every week, folks, we do 5 big games in the NFL. Um, we take a look at them. We take a look at the whole schedule. We go over some games. Some weeks there are good games. Some weeks it's hard to pick games. But hey, it's exciting. It's things are really getting towards the end of the season. Some teams are still positioning for that playoff spot, and we'll see what's what from there. You know?
For sure. It's going to be a good week. I think 5-0 as usual for me coming up.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. JB. So anyway, we got some slate of towards the end of the season they always have some Saturday games because there's no more college football games on Saturday, so the NFL kind of sneaks in on Saturday and has some games. This week is no different. They got 3 games. We're looking at one of them, and we'll take it from there. So the first game we're looking at actually is Miami at Buffalo. Miami, I got to tell you, is a dog by 7.5. So that's
Changed
it's
the half.
okay. 7.5.
It changed by a half since this morning.
So who do you like in this game there, JB?
So Buffalo is my choice to go to the Super Bowl from the beginning of the year. I'm going to stick with that, and I am going to say Buffalo wins by 10 because Miami has looked lost the last couple of weeks. They seem to have just not been there. Now throw in the snow that's expected in Buffalo and seeing the cheetah run in the snow and waddling in all that snow. Just don't see the speed being as effective against Buffalo with this type of weather, as well as Tua hasn't looked the same recently. So I think that this is going to be Buffalo's game. I think they win, and they pretty much put a stranglehold on the division after this.
Well, so you're saying they're going to win by 10.
Yes.
I disagree with you.
You
I
always
happen to think. Well, here's my reasons why. I don't disagree that Buffalo's going to win the game. I just think it's going to be by a smaller margin. Miami's on a 2-game losing streak. If they want to, get control of their team, have a nice push for the playoffs, they got to start winning. You can't be losing games that you should be winning. And they need to get this game going. They should have beat the Chargers on Sunday night. They looked lost. They didn't get together. But and let me tell you something. These 2 teams met in week 2, and Miami beat Buffalo in Miami, and this is sort of like a payback game for Buffalo. But in the last 7 games, Buffalo hasn't exactly done wonders either. They're 5-2, yes, straight up, but they're 1-6 against the spread. Okay, they're winning, but they're winning ugly, and that's why this spread is big. We're talking 7.5. We're talking possible. Miami needs to get back into this. Also, this is a very important game for Miami. If Miami wins this game, Buffalo is only ahead by really 1 game. Because if Buffalo and Miami tie, and Miami somehow wins this game, Miami gets the tiebreaker. So it's very important that Miami somehow do something in this game. Now, if there is snow, and I know there's precipitation that's scheduled for the game, I looked into the weather report for Saturday night. It's going to be a slower game. The passing game gets slowed down, and it's basically going to be a run game. That's actually to Miami's advantage because they got Mostert and they got Wilson in the backfield, and they can run the ball successfully. Buffalo, they can do a lot of good things, but will they cover the spread? That's the question. I'm not questioning whether or not they're going to lose this game. I think they're going to win the game. I just don't think they're going to cover the spread because Miami is in desperate. When you have a team that is desperate and needs to win, believe me, they rise to the occasion.
Oh, I agree with what you're saying as far as Miami being desperate. I just think that the snow slows their best weapons down. And, Buffalo, Miami brought in heaters to LA when they played the Chargers because it was too cold in the dome at 55 degrees in LA. You're going to tell me this team going to Buffalo in the snow has the heart to do anything?
They have to do something because their season really depends on it. If they don't do something this week, they're going to start, because the schedule is what it is. It's not kind to them, and they got
soft. Anyone that brings heaters to a dome because it's too cold is soft. They're a soft team.
We'll see what's what.
Buffalo's going to roll them. Going to roll them.
Okay.
All right. Any other analysis on this besides, as usual, JB is always right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you were so right about the Giants keeping it close against Philly last week, too.
They did. It started out 0-0 at the coin toss.
Okay.
They were in the game.
All right there, JB. All right. The next game we're looking at is Dallas at the Jags on Sunday afternoon. Dallas is a favorite by 5. Who are you liking in this game, JB?
So I was looking at ESPN today all day, and they pointed out that Dak has like 8 interceptions since he's been back. Jacksonville is a Jekyll and Hyde team playing for nothing. Meanwhile, Dallas, they need to keep winning to hold the number 1 wild card spot so that they can have a home playoff game. I think this, Dallas is going to will their way to a victory. 5 points against the Jags. It depends on which Jags team shows up. But I like Dallas here. The two-headed monster between Zeke and Pollard. Then you throw in CD Lamb and the rest of that passing attack. I think Dallas all day on this one.
Yeah, I disagree with you on this one. Dallas is a wild card, okay? Dallas, everybody was liking Dallas last week against Houston. Look what they did. They almost lost the game. They should have lost the game. Houston had a first down and first and goal from the Dallas 4, and on 4 plays they couldn't get it in. Okay, they were winning that game. They get that touchdown. They're up 30-10. Game is over. 30-20. I'm sorry. Game is over. Dallas could go down the field, get a touchdown. It would have been over anyway. Dallas is not consistent. Games they look great, and I say, look, they went to Minnesota. They beat Minnesota 40-3. The next week, they didn't even cover against the Giants. They're very unpredictable. That's the problem.
Dak competition.
What?
They play to their competition.
No, Dak is. Let me tell you something. Dak is not one of those guys that you could say, put the team on my shoulders. I'm going to lead you to the promised land. He is not one of those guys. Okay, he makes a lot of mistakes. He makes a lot of mental errors. He is not one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. Okay. Pollard and Elliott and the rest of the team, they save him. And it was disgraceful the way they played against Houston. And what I should have felt is that big of a spread, I should have liked Houston in that game. And I got caught up in the fact that Dallas is looking for the game. It doesn't even matter. It's the coaching. Mike McCarthy is also showing everybody he's not a great coach either. Because he's got a lot of talent on that team, but
he's stop for 1 second. Give Houston a little bit of credit. They've played tough games this year. They're not an easy out.
You got to do what you got to do. When you're that big of a favorite, you should be winning 40-3. Okay, you got to show everybody that you're worthy of going to the Super Bowl, not barely beating a team that's 1-11.
I agree with you, but you're also not giving credit to Houston, which has kept a lot of games close this year. They're not.
Houston is not that good.
Doesn't matter, not that good or what.
They look like gangbusters in this game. Okay, you would think if you only saw that game, you would think Houston was 10-1, not 1-11.
Houston is a 1-11 team on the upswing.
Okay, upswing. 1-11. Jacksonville, I like Jacksonville in this game. They have nothing to lose. They can play tough. They always get a particular upset every season, even if they go 1-12 themselves. I also like the fact that they went last week at Tennessee, and look what they did. Tennessee was favored in that game. Everybody thought Tennessee was going to win. Jacksonville went on the road at Tennessee and kicked their butt. The big turning point in that game was the fumble by Derrick Henry it was recovered, and Jacksonville just scored like I don't know consecutive points without even a rebuff. The total collapse by Tennessee. Trevor Lawrence had one of his best days as a pro in 2 years. Jacksonville, listen, Etienne is going to be running at Dallas. I can tell you, wild this weekend. I like Jacksonville plus the points. If Dallas wins, it'll be by a field goal.
Yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Okay.
But we're moving along.
Yeah.
Game of the week here.
Cincinnati minus 3.5. You skipped one, but Cincinnati minus 3.5 at Tampa Bay.
So part of me says Tom Brady's going to actually show up this week. I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to come down to a field goal at the end. I don't know who's going to win. I don't think Tampa is a good team. I think Cincinnati's on the verge of becoming a very good team. And they showed last year they could win important games. But Tampa's not a natural rival for them. This isn't the hugest of games for them. And they're coming off the Cleveland game last week. I think Tampa shows up this week. And I think that it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a 1, 2, 3 point game. I would take Tampa with the points.
Well, this is the first game that I agree with you, but not for those reasons. Cincinnati is, first of all, Joe Burrow is Tom Brady 2.0, okay? He's a great competitor. They held Cleveland last week very well. The defense played very well. Tampa Bay, they got crushed last week off San Francisco. I think you even liked Tampa Bay last week. Everybody loved Tampa Bay. I loved San Francisco. That was my pick of the week. Everybody I spoke to, Tampa Bay, they got in love with, Tom Brady and blah, blah, blah. I loved San Francisco. And what did they do? 35-0 at halftime. And they didn't let up like Kansas City. Tampa Bay is going to regroup. They're going to do some things. Tom Brady's going to go back. And usually after a blowout, a team regroups and they actually fight better the next week. I think this game is a 3-point game, maybe by a field goal, but I like this 3.5. I think Cincinnati wins, but by a field goal, and Tampa Bay covers. I don't see Tampa Bay really winning this game, but I think it'll come down to a 3-point game or a field goal or maybe even 1 point. And I like Tampa Bay at home getting the points. This is a game that look, Tampa Bay also has their own future at stake. They can't be losing games because the NFC South is terrible right now. And it's a possibility that a team with a losing record could actually win the NFC South and go to the playoffs. And you were talking about Dallas as having the number one wild card. They might end up going as a wild card. They might have to play one of those teams that wins one of those divisions with a losing record. So if they have to go to the end, I have a friend who's very good. He's loves Dallas, been a Dallas fan his whole life. His major concern is that Dallas is going to have to go play somebody in the NFC South and lose on the road in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay in this game. I think I don't know if they win, but I know they're going to cover. It's going to be a very close game down to the wire.
All right, moving along. The game that you thought we skipped.
Okay. Tennessee at the Chargers. Tennessee's Chargers are home. They're laying 3. Who do you like in this game, JB?
Neither of these teams make any sense. They never come out and do what you think they're going to do. The Chargers went out, played great against Miami, played horrible against Jacksonville this year. You never know what team you're getting. Tennessee lost their first couple of games, rattled off a bunch of wins in a row, had that close game against the Chiefs, and they started losing again. First of all, if I'm betting, I don't bet this game. Second of all, if I'm picking a team, I like the Chargers' defense better than Tennessee's defense. Offensively, I think the better quarterback is obviously Herbert, and if his wide receivers are healthy, he has the better options all around. So I'm going to have to say the Chargers, but this is a tough game. I don't know. There's nobody here that anybody should like.
Well, the thing is about this game, the problem is that either team could win. Tennessee's coming off a 3-game losing streak. They're in desperation, okay? Their season is on the brink. Thank God they play in another crappy division called the AFC South. I mean, they're playing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are like 5-8. They're playing with the Houston Texans, who are 1-11, and they're playing with Indianapolis, that basically has got an interim head coach, who's lost. And they should bring in Sam Ellinger just to see what they got. But they're probably going to go back to Matt Ryan this weekend and lose again. So Tennessee is lucky that they're playing in a division with 3 other teams. That's another concern, that other playoff teams in the AFC, they might have to go play a team in the AFC South that also has a losing record. The way Tennessee's playing right now, they could easily end up 7-10. Because they're not showing anybody that they can win. They lost to Cincinnati, okay? They lost to the Jags. They lost they're on their 3-game losing streak. I forget who else they lost to. It's
bad losses. Bad losses.
Yeah, bad losses. Bad losses. All bad losses. They're not showing anybody. You know, they're showing everybody that if you cut down Derrick Henry, the offense all of a sudden stalls. The worst thing they ever did was trade that wide receiver.
Yes,
to
AJ
Philly.
Brown. Yeah,
AJ Brown.
Yeah, you look at this game. If you have a strong conviction of one of these teams, you need to be committed, because both of these teams could be great, but they are so unpredictable. They're missing coaching.
No, Mike Vrabel is a good coach. Mike Vrabel, I give him a lot of credit. Brandon Staley is a bad coach. He takes a lot of points off the board. If I had to pick, the reason why we picked this game is because it's one of these kind of games that you don't know. But Tennessee is in desperation mode. They have to win this game.
Jeff, you remember Arrested Development?
Of course.
Tennessee, that's what you're going with? Make sure you listen to the song later on.
Yeah, okay. I actually like Tennessee in this game. I think they bounce back for the game. The Chargers, every week it's a crapshoot what you get. You don't know what you get with them. The coaching is terrible. They have great players. The defense has been shellacked with injuries. Tennessee has to get something going. I would be very surprised if this game was a blowout either way. And it could come down to a field goal. That's the funny thing. I don't see it being a shootout. I see it being a low-scoring game. I see Tennessee maybe coming out at the end, maybe even losing and still covering with the spread.
Interesting. So our caveat, our Sunday night game, 2 wild card teams at the moment that love each other so much that they tied last time they played at MetLife Stadium. What do you make of this mess? I'm going to let you go first on this one, because this is a mess.
Okay.
Not that I'm a fan of one of these teams and I have to watch it on Sunday night. I'm disappointed, but go ahead.
Okay. I happen to like this game. I like the Giants plus 4.5. Washington is up and coming with Taylor Heineke. It's a good, it's a very good team run-wise. They're run-heavy, which is good. They take a lot of pressure off Taylor Heineke. Washington's well-rested. They're coming off the bye. Before that, they played the Giants to that 2020 tie you were talking about. Washington should have won that game, but they didn't. The Giants are coming off that worst blowout that I predicted last week. I said it was going to be a blowout. I wasn't, it just, from the get-go, it was like 21-0. You could turn your sets off there. They won 48-22. I mean, it was 48-14, and the Giants got a dummy touchdown. But for this game, I think actually Washington wins, but only by a field goal. If the Giants win, they get, obviously they cover and they win with the points. But Washington, these two teams are very tough. If it was a Washington minus 2.5, I would definitely take Washington. But the 4.5, I don't think it becomes a blowout. I think these two teams really get together. Some of these new wide receivers on the Giants are really stepping up, and they're showing something because they're making the most of their time with the Giants. Look, Brian Dable, the coach of the Giants, he has nothing to apologize about. He's actually having the Giants play above what everybody thought they would be at this time in the season. Everybody thought they would have maybe 3-4 wins for the whole season, looking at the schedule. So he's gone over and above. Unfortunately, they've had injuries. I think Brian Dable in his second year, I think the Giants have something to build on. They have a positive future. On the other hand, Washington too. Taylor Heineke, is a nice surprise. He's come in. He's really revitalized that team. People look forward to their games. And in this game, I think it's going to be a battle. But like I said, I think it's going to be a 3-point game either way. And I like the Giants plus the 4.5.
So, as I said last week, the Giants are going to keep it close. Both these teams know each other. Washington's got a couple of really nice pieces on offense. Their defense is good. The Giants have a couple of nice pieces on offense. Their defense is playing well. This game is huge for both teams for making the playoffs. Detroit is in the background, storming up, catching right on their heels. They already beat the Giants earlier this year. So for both these teams, this is an important game, especially the Giants coming off a really bad loss last week. Washington coming off the bye. I expect them to be ready. I don't see anything that would make this any different than any other time these two teams play, which will be a close game. Who will win? It's tough. I mean, Washington with the extra week to prepare after they just played the same team. I don't think that's happened very often in the NFL where a team played a team, went on a bye, and played the team the week after. I would love to know how many times it has happened. But I think that gives the edge to Washington. But 4.5 points is still too many for that spread. But I still think Washington will end up winning the game.
Washington, you feel so you like the Giants plus the points, but you think, like with me, Washington's going to win by 3.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very close game throughout it. I think Washington wins a tight game only because they had a week. They played the team. They had a week off, and they're playing the same team. So they've basically been in preparation for the Giants now for 3 weeks, and they played them once. So that's a huge advantage when it comes down to if your coach is decent or even average, you've had 3 weeks to run the same stuff to worry about the same opponent. So if you can't beat them, you're really bad.
Well, the thing is, Washington can't come out with the same game plan. They got to change it up a little bit because Giants have already seen it. Same thing with the Giants. Washington has already seen it. So they got to change up the game plan. And it's still fresh in their memory because it was only a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly.
So smart coach like Brian Dable, he's going to make some changes. Hopefully Ron Rivera got the memo. Don't go back to the same game plan. Yeah, Washington's going to go run heavy because that's one of their strengths. In fact, one of the comments I wanted to make tonight is that a lot of teams are going retro with this run heavy offense. And it's succeeding. And it's showing that,
because it's what happens. The league switches after a certain amount of time. The defenses are schemed towards passing. So when that happens, you run to keep the defense honest. And
like Carolina last week, I was probably the only one also loved Carolina against Seattle because Seattle is terrible against the run.
Right.
And I loved Seattle. I loved Carolina. And you can check it out on my website. They were up 17-0 in that game, and they didn't give up. That was great. I loved it. I love the fact that Carolina has that run game. If it wasn't for the first few weeks when they had Christian McCaffrey and they were sort of in turmoil, Carolina's been running the hell out of the ball. I wouldn't be surprised for the weeks that they've had that run that they are either close to the top in the NFL in the rushing offense because they are just really doing it. They're slamming teams who just can't prepare against the run. That's why one of the things, if you're looking at certain games and you're looking at certain matchups, if a team is run heavy and a team cannot play the run well, you go with the team that's run heavy because eventually that defense gets tired. They miss tackles, they miss assignments, and bam, a team runs 40 times a game. They score and they get yardage and it eats up a lot of clock. So, that's what you have to look at if you're looking at the games. But hey, just an observation, folks.
Very interesting. Where can people find you, Mr. Cadillac?
Well, you can find me on jeffcadillac.com, my website. I do a couple of articles for sportskita.com in the betting section. I'm on Twitter at jeffcadillac1. Follow me there. I got my best bet of the week. Hey, come on down. some more followers, folks. Also, I'm on the Rick Kamler show on Friday nights on the Better Sports Network. We talk about some games over there. I was on Dr. Roto last night on Better Sports Network, and I was also this week with Moose and Keith in the morning on the Better Sports Network. So they were reading one of my articles, and they asked me about it and everything. So come on, read some articles, my articles on sportskita.com in the betting section. And hey, enjoy.
Sounds good. I'm JB_ the program on Twitter. Actually, I'm on my way out the door in just a moment to cover the Angela Simmons toy drive for charity. Make sure you guys are donating. If you watched Sideline Sports last night, you saw we had Ron Artest Sr. on. Check out my Twitter. You can see how you can bid on his auction for his foundation. But Sideline Sports Tuesday night, Wednesday night here, and the South Florida Tribune, and both sides of the coin every other Wednesday. But till next time, make sure you're following me. Leave Jeff's picks in the background. And don't lose. Jeff's been very good. Check out his best bet of the week Friday on Twitter. Jeff Cadillac won. All right, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Enjoy the games.